Good evening, and thank you for joining me at Music Today. This is Keitaro Harada. The concept of this show is to bring in an artist each episode and to have a conversation with the artist about a performance we will all watch and listen together. The live component is very important because I encourage the viewers to comment and ask questions to the artist. The idea of doing this show came about when COVID-19 hit, and I wanted a platform to keep the music going for our fans. Even though we may not be able to experience live performances together right now, I wanted a place where music lovers can join easily, converse with artists, and to see a more personal side of us. Music Today is a bilingual show. The live shows during your evening is in English, and the shows that broadcast in the morning time is usually in Japanese for the fans in Japan. If you want to improve on your Japanese skill, you're more than welcome to watch the Japanese shows too. All you have to do is click on the subtitle button somewhere around here. After the live stream ends, you can listen in Japanese and read it in English. Today marks show number 70. Yay. So excited. And very thankful for all the guests that have joined me every day since I've started. Without further ado, I'd like to bring in our guest for tonight. Since we on this side cannot hear you applaud, please do me a huge favor and use the clapping emojis, or you can write clap, clap, clap. Just comment on the comment section below, and so that we know that you are there. And like I said, don't hesitate to say hi or ask questions to us. Please welcome Maestro Scot Hagen. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Kay, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me. Where are you quarantining right now?
At home, down in the basement.
Fantastic. In Utah, I'm assuming?
Yeah, Salt Lake City, Utah.
Great. How is the COVID-19 situation out there?
We're having rising numbers. We had 600 and some cases, I think, today. And for the week, I think we've been over 4,000. So it's not getting any better.
Well, I hope, it's not looking good for the US right now, but I hope people will start wearing masks and taking it seriously. And, right now I'm talking to you from Japan, where concerts have started back up since 2 weeks ago. And, it's good to be making music, but I feel the pain because back home in the US, I can't make music right now with an orchestra, especially. So it's difficult times.
Even the universities are, and I've been in a number of chat rooms and things with colleagues across the country, and a lot of us are approaching, the due date for school to start in another month or so.
Right.
Some of them are going to chamber groups or smaller groups, but really it's still unknown. There's being studies that are being done now in Colorado, so we'll have some information, but it's tough.
Yeah. What's interesting is, so I just participated in a wind ensemble science experiment in Japan. I was part of this government research, and to see how dangerous it really is for every instrument and for the conductor to do rehearsals on stage. And so everyone was wearing masks. There was laser beam that was all shining on us while we were playing to see how much of our spit and our air is going out and everything. And after researching every instrument, the only instrument that was higher in the dangerous level was just the piccolo.
Oh, really?
But every other instrument actually is completely safe to be on stage, and as long as people didn't talk, which is the tricky part. And then we had paper plates, sort of like dog and pee pad for dogs and cats on the floor for brass players to drop their spit valve water. And as far as conductors, as long as I was wearing a mask, no one in the front row was in danger. And so the government in Japan's publishing our experiment just to say, give positive feedback to the community, saying like wind ensemble is actually okay. Like, go ahead and start your rehearsals and go ahead and start making music because it's actually safe. But what was interesting about the study was there was more danger backstage than on stage, because everyone was so excited to see each other, since the pandemic, and people were chatting, and that was not good.
Did you have them spread apart then?
We had them. We did 3 different experiments, and so I guess I could show you. One was the standard setup, so very tight, close quarter. But this was the second part of the experiment. We first had it spread out like 1 meter apart, so 2.3 feet, and that was completely safe. And so we said, okay, well, what is it like if we were to go back into the normal rotation? And the thing about this was it's easy. Of course, there's the oops, my camera is frozen. There's the ease of here we go. There was the ease of performing, when we're closer. So this formation is always the usual setup is much easier to perform. And as far as danger, there was no danger. Like playing an instrument in a rehearsal is not dangerous. It's the conclusion that came out. So the university doctors are all writing a report for the wind ensemble society in Japan to let people know, because Japan's such a huge wind ensemble community.
Yeah,
people want to go back to playing. So.
We've heard so many different things in data. Like sometimes people say we need to be 10 feet apart, and other times they say, well, to use plexiglass. Like West Point Band did that for their graduation. They all had kind of a triangle plexiglass thing. So I'm glad. I'd love to see your study.
Yeah, no. Once it gets published, and I hope it becomes bilingual, but if not, then I'll have to translate it. But it's looking positive, and then the wind ensemble activities after it gets published, we're going to start back up. So subscription concerts are starting August for all wind ensembles in Japan. The audience, this is a different situation. We're at 50% capacity, and then shorter programs, so no intermission.
Yeah, there are universities dealing with recirculated air, making sure all the classrooms have a airflow pattern. So they're asking us to end classes a little bit early so that air can recirculate, things like that. So
yeah, gotcha.
They've done a lot of research on it. Our universities. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. It's all trial and error, right? Because we don't know, and we've never been through all of this. So, anyways, let's talk about music. Maslanka Symphony Number 10. Tell us a little bit about this piece and your relationship with Maslanka.
Well, David and I crossed paths maybe 12, 13, 14 years ago. I had him out to our campus at least half a dozen times to work either with the Utah Wind Symphony or the professional group in town or my university group. And so we really became close friends and colleagues. And when Miroslava my wife is a clarinetist, and we were talking about doing a consortium for clarinet, for a solo clarinet wind ensemble. And that's when we first commissioned David to do the clarinet thing, the clarinet piece. And that was 2015, I think. I see. And then we had performed Symphony 9, and I knew, gosh, maybe David should do Symphony 10. So we commissioned him and got a consortium together, along with Steve Steele was a help in it, and Ansby Rose, who actually did his dissertation on the Maslanka Symphony 10.
I see.
We all kind of combined forces. Ansby at one time was going to do Symphony 11, and then, of course, David passed away, and then we combined all the forces and brought it into Symphony 10, which really worked out really well.
Tell us a little bit about this photo that we see.
Well, David died in August, had movement 1 completely done, movement 2 half done. In movement 2, I think he goes to measure, can't remember, 64, and then all of a sudden it's just blank after that. So that he didn't finish it. During the writing of movement 2, he lost his wife Allison in July. So at the point she passed away, there's a square on the handwritten score that has her birth date and her name on it, and it's this beautiful D major chord. If I correct. So the symphony was just basically not finished.
Mm-hmm.
Before David passed away, he asked Matthew, his son, if Matthew could finish it. So this picture is us rehearsing with Matthew there, guiding us through the rehearsal.
Oh, gotcha. So did he indeed finish writing through the pieces?
Yeah. It was really a struggle, I'm sure, for him emotionally. In fact, when it was about halfway through the rehearsals, I mean, he just broke down. It was really, really emotional roller coaster for him. As for all of us, I mean, it was David's last piece. But to lose your parents within a month of each other, that's
right. Yeah, that's
horrible.
Horrible.
He ended up finishing it in March of 2018. And then we started rehearsing it in March. We had about a month on it. And then we had the premiere, and then we had about 3 or 4 days of recording sessions.
It's the scene from your recording session.
Yeah.
Editing.
Brett, Matthew, and myself.
Wonderful. Well, I want us to take a listen to a few excerpts from this symphony. We'll start right from the beginning.
So the first movement is titled Allison, David's wife. David always uses very interesting combinations of instruments.
I was just about to comment on that. It's a very high and low and very interesting duets that you don't often associate. Yeah.
Basically, piccolo, flute. You know, not real difficult writing, but very sensitive writing. Anytime that you have his writing, the blending of the instrument is so important to get the right sound. And when he worked with us, there was always that. He always would address those kinds of things, which was fascinating.
And as with his composition signature, a lot of, Bach chorale esqueness is always
right
in his composition. And that very first beginning kind of reminds me of that, even though it's not a specific Bach quote.
Yeah. And this is just a saxophone quartet.
Writing
for too. Very specific percussion things wanted. And you can hear some of the anger in his voice here.
Yeah, most definitely. It's not very happy music.
No. Allison was not doing well at the time. The beautiful sounds.
Did he incorporate Allison in other works of his in the past?
I don't know. He had written some euphonium things for Matthew when Matthew was a high school student.
I see.
But I'm not sure if he did anything specifically for Allison.
Yeah, I was just curious if she had like a motto or a theme or pitches that related to her.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But David would start out his compositional day every day by playing the Bach chorales.
I see.
He would sing the soprano line, the alto line, the tenor line, and the bass line. That was the start of his compositional day.
Gotcha.
I
want to go ahead. Go ahead.
He uses smaller chamber groups.
They're
there's a lot of chamber music happening in Symphony 10.
I'm going to skip us to the third movement where it's called David.
This is the one that Matthew went along with David's sketches, but movement 3 wasn't sketched a whole lot for Matthew. So this is really Matthew's composition.
Oh, I see.
And of course, this is written for his dad, and there's some really glorious moments in there too, but there's a lot of agony too. Like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a happy horn call.
And that's Matthew playing the euphonium, and he's really crying out.
Oh, very cool.
It hurts.
Yeah. The dissonance is very real.
Yes. Movement 3 is by far the hardest. By far. And you'll hear Matthew's cry of the voice now.
Where is that player going to?
He's going to the cellist. Everybody always asks that.
Where was she? What was she doing before?
She was playing flute.
Why? Why is the flute player the cellist player?
We had to use her.
That's such an interesting move.
Yeah. It was so obvious to us that we never even really thought about it. But I remember a lot of people asking us, what was that person doing?
Because you don't really see that kind of you see the percussionist moving left and right, but you rarely see a flute player going to the cellist part.
Yeah, somebody out of the first row.
Or couldn't she move after that movement? I guess not.
There were certain cellist parts that she had to cover, I guess. I can't remember the circumstances. Like I said before, it didn't really bother me. I didn't think it.
Right. Of course, it's so natural for your, people in your group, but it's so bizarre from a third person perspective, looking at it for the first time. Well, I guess it would have been more funny if it was a tuba player who also played the cellist and had to walk across the. Yeah. So here we are listening to the very ending of the symphony.
Yeah, this one's titled "One Breath in Peace," which David was really all about breathing the breath. He referred to that often.
Is that his son on the left?
Yes, that's Matthew.
Okay.
Well, Matthew will actually be David singing with a Bach chorale at the end. That's how Matthew wanted to end the piece.
I see.
That was David's whole thing. And that's how it ends.
Oh.
Very powerful ending.
Oh my gosh. I had goosebumps.
Yeah. I just sat there for a while. Nobody moved.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The piece is 41 minutes, it says, and 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it felt like 5 minutes.
Really? Yeah.
A lot of David's pieces were like that. I remember doing Symphony 4 and having him come up to the podium, after the performance to shake my hand and give me a hug. And first thing I said to him, I said, it felt like I was only on the podium for 5 minutes. And he said, that's a good thing, isn't it? And I said, yeah, that's a good thing.
It's definitely a good thing.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about this photo. When was this with you and him? That's
with Utah Wind Symphony, the professional group. That's when we finished. We did Symphony 4.
I see.
Story behind that is the Utah Wind Symphony was a new group, didn't have really a lot of money, just starting out. I think this was the first year. So we contacted David and said, is there any way that we could, not rent your Symphony 4 for the full price? Because we didn't have that money.
Okay.
David called Carl Fisher and basically said he donated it to us. And he said, and I want to come down. Down for the performance. I'll drive down. And I said, well, no, we'll fly you down from Montana.
Yeah.
So I asked him, I said, why did you come down to the performance and work for us? And he looked at me and he said, I knew it was going to be something special. He said, I just knew it was going to be something really cool. And so that kind of started our relationship with David and the Utah Wind Symphony. And Utah Wind Symphony actually did a CD called Hymn for World Peace, which is one of his pieces too.
Gotcha. Well, that's such a beautiful story. With David's pieces, there's always it speaks more than just the music. There's not only does it have some sort of like a storyline to each of his music, but there's even more something that anyone who's listening to it, anyone who's playing can feel and relate to, which is always such a magical technique, or he was gifted.
Yeah, he was just a wonderful human being to work with in rehearsals. And he had a way of addressing the ensemble that was very personable for everyone. And he wasn't afraid to, tap you on the shoulder and say, you need to go the right tempo here. But in a real positive way. And I remember a couple of colleagues of mine asked me, they played in Utah Wind Symphony. They said, doesn't that drive you crazy when the composer's there and he's right behind you listening to his music? And I said, no.
No way. Yeah.
That is a blessing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get it any better than that. I mean, I've often told my audiences, I said, the cool thing about wind band music is a lot of the composers are still alive.
Exactly. Well, it's totally true. And I'm in this category of I wish I could ask Mozart and Beethoven. I wish I could text Mahler and be like, what is this all about? But we can't, But the beauty of working with new composition is that the composer is there to tell you everything, all the questions that you have.
It was so funny because there were many times where when I first started working with him, he would put things in his composition or his scores like a brief pause or taking time. And I would ask him like, well, how long should I wait? And he'd look at me with this funny face and go, you'll figure it out. I wanted like, should I wait 5 seconds or what should I wait? He said, no, just you'll figure it out. It'll feel fine for you. It was true. It was true. The other thing with his compositions, his tempo markings, you needed to be dead on.
Yeah.
I mean, because you could really fall into a trap halfway through the piece. If you didn't start it out the right tempo, all of a sudden you're in halftime someplace and it just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And so he was a real stickler on that. And, it was a great experience because he was so gracious to the players.
Oh, it comes from his nature of being so humble and just touched and being with the music all the time. Scott, let's talk just a little bit about you and your upbringing and how you became a conductor. How were you introduced to music?
Well, I grew up as my father was a high school band director.
Okay.
Small town in northern Minnesota called Park Rapids. I think there were maybe 125 kids in my senior class graduating, so it was quite small. So we ended up just doing everything. I mean, we all played sports. And so anyway, when I was younger, my dad would, take me to different concerts that he conducted, or he'd take me to a couple of rehearsals. And so I really kind of was around it at a young age. And then when I got to be, a fifth grader, I started playing trumpet and continue with that. But when I reached about the 8th grade, he started sending me to music camps. And that really sparked my interest because I got to take trumpet lessons from a lot of different people, and I got to be under a lot of different conductors.
I see.
And so when I'm watching these conductors, I'm thinking to myself, gosh, that'd be kind of cool to get up in front of everybody to figure out all, like we all when we were younger, and then we actually get up there and do it, and it's like we're so overwhelmed because there's so many sounds coming in. But my dad was great for that. He there was an interest in. I wasn't really 100% musician when I was in high school. I mean, I played 3 sports, and I did a lot of outdoor activities. Things wasn't the practice room rat, so to speak. But, yeah, he was a great teacher, great band director.
How does that translate into you becoming a conductor? Well,
I think I kind of wanted to be like my dad.
Yeah.
I saw his reaction with his students. They loved him. He was tough as nails, but he could really his bands could always play well beyond their talent level.
I see.
He had a way of pushing them in the right direction. And I mean, they were playing Tridico and Nellie Bell things back in the 60s and all this classic literature that I didn't even know how difficult it was until later in life. I'm going, man, I played that in high school.
Yeah.
Oh,
totally.
So I guess the thing he said, he didn't tell us it was ever hard. So,
well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
What do you recall the first piece that you ever conducted in public?
I can't remember. It's probably
Was it in college or?
Yeah, I was in college. When our conductor would go on a convention or something, he would have students. It was at Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota.
Okay.
We have students conduct, and I think it was probably. Oh gosh, I
can't. As we talk, it may come back to you.
I can't remember. Well, the great gate of Kiev, so I can't remember.
Well, speaking of performances that you do remember, what would you say is a performance that you would treasure forever? Maybe it might be a Maslanka experience.
I think it'd be the Maslanka 4.
Yeah.
That was a tremendous recording, a tremendous experience. I think Symphony 10 also. Simply because it was such an emotional time for Matthew, and I was so close to David, and it was his last piece, and I just wanted to do justice to the piece.
Yeah, of course. Most definitely.
But a lot of times the great musical things that happen are in rehearsal. Sometimes the performance, I don't want to say it's a letdown because it's not. Sometimes some of those magical times where you're with your ensemble and all of a sudden the magic happens and everything just clicks. And the funny thing, everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't.
I use the analogy with young people. I said, with athletics, they don't really get it sometimes because they celebrate right away and they spike the football or whatever, jump up and down. We as musicians, we play a final beautiful chord, and what do? We just kind of go, huh? Stop.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know what to say. Yeah. Then eventually, sure, you give high fives and stuff, but that's how powerful. I learned music is so powerful.
It is. I think it's in the silence that we are allowed to reflect. Allowed, it might be a wrong word, but it's in the silence that we put ourselves in a situation that lets us process what just happened and our souls to just sink in. Okay, we did that. Yeah. But it wasn't, it was created by a composer, and the muse just helps us guide us through it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was, when we did those commissioned pieces, I told the ensemble, I said, this is such a rare opportunity for you because this is music that's never been heard before. You have the capability of creating music every day of your life. You're creating something that's nobody's ever heard.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the other piece I remember, this was quite a few years back, is the Ave Maria, the Bibel.
Okay.
Oh man, that last E flat chord, we actually took the chime out because it's the wind instruments. Actually, they go sky high in pitch, and you have the chime that's at 8440, whatever it is, and it just
Yeah.
it out. But we hit this chord, and there was this magic overtone upon overtone upon overtone. People weren't playing.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, I still listen to that and go, man, that was really cool. And the other thing is when you cut that when you silence that chord, the whole audience doesn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of sit there,
right,
kind of soak it in, and that's when you know you've had a good performance.
Yeah, that is very true. And then also, I think as us conductors, we have that responsibility to maintain that silence. We do the cutoff, and then the moment we move, you allow the audience to go ahead and applaud, but we have the power of just letting that air sit still, and people are holding their breath. People maybe not even be breathing at some point. It's such a magical feeling that you cannot recreate. It just happens in the moment.
Well, you'll have that one audience member that blurts out "wow" or something like that. They don't even realize that they did it.
That's true. I used to have it. So I spent my tenure at Cincinnati Symphony, and it was in the Sunday afternoon subscription series. We always had a gentleman who would say "Amen." It didn't matter what it was, but in that very special moment, it could have been like after a second movement in a multi-movement piece. He would just be like, "Hey, man," you're just like, okay, really? At this point, okay, well, at least the spirit is speaking. We can't force him to stop.
Right. Well, reflecting back on my childhood, one of the other things that I had an opportunity to do is play under some fantastic conductors. I probably played with Fennell a dozen times.
My mentor, yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. Awesome. I remember being with John Painter. I think I was in 9th grade, and he handed this manuscript piece called 4 Scottish Dances out.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see what we can read. And nobody really knew who John Painter was. John Painter was always Glenncliff Bainham's assistant at Northwestern. I mean, I had John Painter when he was young. Gabriel, Nellie Bell. So, really great conductors that were fantastic. And that really sparked an interest.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Someone is commenting saying that it might have been Beautiful Savior because it was the most played song at Concordia.
Yeah, the choir always sings that one. By far. They always end all the concerts with Beautiful Savior. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, transitioning back to your time at university, congratulations on, your time at University of Utah. 29 years?
29 years.
Yes. Amazing. Tell us a little bit about your highlights during those 29 years.
Well, we were gonna have a highlight this year. Playing for the regional CBDNA in
oh no!
Of course, that got canceled. It was a funny story because our university, Kate, was one of the first ones that banned travel to Washington State and Florida. First week of March. Well, that shut us down. We weren't going to go, so I contacted the CBDNA folks, officers for the Northwestern Regional, and said, "Hey, how about if we live stream?" They said, "Sure, we can do that. It wouldn't be a problem."
Yeah.
We had a concert band invitational the 7th and 8th where we had 28 high school bands at the university. We got through that, and all of a sudden Saturday afternoon the CBDNA conference was canceled. So my last live performance, my group was March the 8th, which was that Saturday. Nobody knew that all of a sudden it was going to. So that's one of my highlights too. That last performance, if somebody would have told me that was going to be the last one, I probably would have gone in thinking totally different. Not totally.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden we're out, and the kids are just kind of running around going, "Geez, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now?" But I had kind of an interesting career because when I first came to University of Utah, I did the marching band. So I did the marching band and the second concert band for about 11 years. Then applied for the director of bands and then got that. So I've kind of done both both things. Although my heart was always in the concert band,
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed the marching band, but the concert band was always in my blood because I never marched when I was a kid.
Okay.
I was always kind of playing football, and my college didn't have a marching band, so I didn't really have any experience for it. I
Mm-hmm.
love marching bands, but it, the University of Utah it's kind of we've tried to bring in a lot of different composers to work with
Mm-hmm.
our students and a lot of different soloists. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
We've had Adam Fry and Jeff Nelson, Gene Picorni, Mark Inouye from San Francisco, a number of composers, and I think it's really good for the students to be exposed to that. They truly can hear a master player,
Mm-hmm.
and to have a composer on site talking about their music is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And all of them kind of came away. They kind of said the same thing. They said, "Man, we never knew."
Yeah. Well, I don't think anyone was prepared for all of this. Yeah.
Just
Yeah. And it's kind of scary how, like I just read that Disney is opening up or has already opened, and in the state that has 10,000 cases daily, like something's not really making sense. Like,
it doesn't.
yeah.
It's not going to go away. I mean, for a while, it's just going to be around. It's just, that's why everybody's struggling what to do.
Yeah, totally. We have some hellos from Ben. Hi, saying hi, Ben.
Son, yeah. That's my son, Ben.
Ksana says hello. Hi, Scott. Thanks for commenting. Retirement. How is life after retirement?
Well, I'm actually going to go to September 30th will be my last day.
Oh, okay. So I can't celebrate it quite yet.
Not quite. They kind of wanted me to come back because this was going to be my, my final year probably anyway.
Mm.
And so I basically, they wanted me to come back, kind of as to get things rolling the start of the year because it's going to be a little bit confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wanted some stability.
Sure, that makes sense.
But September 30th will be the last day, and it's been a great ride. I have enough things that are going to keep me busy.
Good, that's wonderful.
I love to play golf. I love to ski.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of things. I'll still be doing some conducting, I'm sure, but.
Mm-hmm. Great. I always ask our guests about some aspects of current affairs, and we've already touched upon it. But so in regards to COVID-19, performing for an audience was such a routine activity for us for so many years. Like having an audience, we've never really thought about it because I think we've taken for granted that there was always an audience. But then all of a sudden, because of this crisis, performing in public has become extremely difficult. So my question to you is, has your attitude towards music and performing for an audience changed in the last few months since the pandemic has started?
Yeah, it's changed. I'm worried about it. I think there's going to be a lot of lost musicians out there, college kids. When we went online, we tried to do conducting lessons online, dependent on the speed of the students' internet at home, whether it worked or not.
Right.
A lot of them were just kind of frustrated. They didn't really dig the online conducting lessons at all.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of went through the motions, but it wasn't the same.
Of course.
I've toyed with the idea about trying to do digital. I know some directors out there. I kind of want to stay away from that if I can.
Mm-hmm.
When our university shut down, the ensembles just shut down completely.
Right.
We didn't do anything with them. We didn't have any kind of excerpt things that they had to perform at all. Now this year we were told that yes, we do have to do something online.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that's going to be, I don't know. But I think I think all of us have to worry a little bit about enrollment.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to come back?
Right.
My wind ensemble is going to be classified as an in-person ensemble. In other words, they can't go on the internet. They have to be.
What does that mean?
They have to be in person in the room.
Oh, I see. Like you can't teach the course online, is what you mean.
Yeah, that's what we're going to try and do. Unless the university's forced to go online, then we'll have to figure something out.
Got it.
But I think there's a lot of students out there that might just kind of wait till this thing gets figured out. I don't know.
Yeah.
As far as playing in front of a live audience, I mean, that's what it's really all about.
Right.
You know, if we even play to 100 people, that's something. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think our auditorium in our situation, I don't think we're going to be doing too many live things in there.
Mm-hmm.
The stage isn't big enough.
Mm-hmm.
So my last concert, September 30th, we're planning on doing Symphony 4, David's Peak.
It's a big ensemble, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and so we'll have to do like brass one day, you know, woodwinds the next day, percussion auxiliary the third day, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And the only way that we can do a concert is we'd have to do it outdoors. And so we've looked at, there's a wonderful facility up by the university called Red Butte Garden that has an amphitheater and plenty of seating. So we're trying to figure out if we could do it up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's scheduled for September 21st, which is pretty quick.
Yep, it's coming up.
Yeah, we'd have about a month of rehearsals, 3 weeks. So, but I think I feel sorry for the students.
Yeah, me.
My age, I've had so many great musical experiences that, you know, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
But for somebody that's just starting their college career and just got into a great group, you know, you're going to want to be in that thing. You're going to want to try and make music with each other.
Yeah, you know, my heart was really crushed in May for all the graduates because, you know, they didn't get to graduate the way they thought they would, and celebrate their last year of, you know, high school, college, academia. And then now there's the freshmen that are coming in that it wasn't what they envisioned at all.
No.
So
yeah, it's really tough. And the problem is when the university gets back full force, you know, there are some universities that said we're just doing totally online across the country.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to go back in person, but as soon as something happens, they'll go online. But the problem is that I think is going to happen is the social distancing between students.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about one-way hallways in our building. You know, it's just it's a nightmare. And
yeah.
You know, I guess if I was an incoming freshman, boy, I'd have to really think seriously about a music major. I you know, going into music as a freshman right now, it's tough.
Yeah, it is such a chaos, and yeah. But I would probably rethink too if I was coming in as a freshman. Is there something that I could do as a gap year and take 1 year off and do something like that is financially makes sense, like for my career, like maybe go take classes at the business school for 1 year, which is, you know, can be done all online.
Yeah.
And still be beneficial.
Yeah.
And take lessons on the side.
Yeah, the arts is really in a real pickle here, you know, dance and theater and everybody. I mean, it's just it's a tough time.
Yeah.
And I know, like I said before, I think a lot of guys are going to go chamber ensembles, which is great, but what are you going to do with 3 tuba players? You know, are they going to play trios, or, you know, the Mozart serenades and the Beethoven's, Stravinskys don't use all the instruments. So it's like, you know, it's a tough, and we might end up going that route. I don't know.
You know, on the flip side, it's a great opportunity for like composition majors to go and make arrangements for 3 tubas. Like,
I see you have Frank Kelly coming up. That'd be one of the questions to ask him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Frank's coming up in Tuesday, and you know, I'm curious to see if he's writing pieces that are for a smaller scale ensemble.
I think John Mackey has. I don't know if Michael Markowski has yet. Not sure, but I know they've been talking about it. They've been trying. Julie Giroux is trying to do some things.
Yeah, I think I saw. Yeah, John Mackey's post about his new piece, which can be done with four or five people.
The one thing I really worry about are the younger ones, like the high school age kids. Those are the ones I really worry about because
regional band, all-state band.
Well, even just the high school bands themselves in the local high schools. I mean, that's going to be rough. I just don't want to see kids say, "I'm not going to do this anymore. It's not worth it," which
totally can happen. Yeah.
Which is really going to trickle up to the universities, and it's.
Yeah, and it's not just band too. It's chorus. Chorus is even worse, right? You're just singing in front of people. Theater, musical, everything. Well, it's always a dark topic, but we just have to see how it goes and kind of keep our eye out and fingers crossed, hope for a better tomorrow. I want to share to our audience where people can find your CDs, and the best place to go to is Amazon. People can type in University of Utah Wind Ensemble, and there is your CDs from the Symphony number 10, the Gemini, and other works that are available from Amazon on this bright morning. And I just heard that you are going to do a CD giveaway, which is awesome. So thank you for that. So the way to do the CD giveaway is, I had just talked to Miroslava. So up to 5 winners are allowed to get a CD, and all they have to do is, I'm going to put it in the YouTube comment, but send a message to Scot on Facebook with your address, and then the first 5 lucky winners will be able to get a CD, maybe signed by you too. So that would be super. Yeah. So find Scot, and then the link to his Facebook is in the YouTube comment that I've already just posted right now, but it's Scot Hagen .73, and you should be able to find him, send him a message, and you might be a lucky winner and get a CD from him. So super. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Scot, thank you so much for your time to join me on the show and talk about what's going on and sharing us about, the activities, but especially about Maslanka's Symphony number 10, which is, which means so much to you, and the creation of it was, you were there for it. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great piece of music. I encourage people to look into it. I know it's been performed a few times, and it's going to be around a long time.
Yes, most definitely. Great. Well, thank you so much for your time. And then for all the viewers, thanks for tuning in, and come join us on Tuesday with Frank DeKelly and Thursday with Jerry Junkin. So it'll be fun times this week. Thanks, Scot.
Thanks, Kate. Thank you.
Right, have a good night.
Yep. Bye-bye.
And bye. Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share this video. ありがとうございました。チャンネル登録、いいね、そしてこのビデオをぜひシェアしてください。